Good morning and welcome to another Legion list building video. In today's episode we're going to be building a list around the Grand Army of the Republic and specifically around Anakin Skywalker and Obi Wan Kenobi. Okay, so here we are with two of the most iconic heroes of the prequels, and we're going to try and fit them into a list together today. It should be said, I've never used either of these characters. I'm not quite sure how sort of the nuance of them would be in game. I've watched a couple of videos explaining sort of their basic mechanics and some good upgrades and stuff like that. So I think I've got a bit of an idea, but yeah, should be said, don't have too much idea of the nuance of these two characters. So to start off with, we're going to look at the upgrades that I'm going to be giving to these two characters. Now, for Anakin Skywalker, the idea is going to be that he's going to be sort of my damage dealer, and Obi-Wan is kind of there just to protect him. So we're going to start off with Obi-Wan Kenobi first and foremost. The first upgrade we're going to be giving to Obi-Wan Kenobi is Force Reflexes. Now, reason we're giving Obi-Wan Kenobi this, I'll just click on his card, is, as you can see here, his ability Surisu Mastery. What this enables him to do, it's like sort of Deflect Plus, basically. It also is enabled to be used when he's using Guardian, and he does have Guardian 3. So not too much surprise here. He's going to be blocking some of that fire that's coming in on Anakin. And actually, with him sort of guarding 3 of those away and then dodging 1 with his Surisu Mastery, it actually means he hopefully won't be taking too much damage, and he should be able to tank a fair bit. Next, I'm not quite sure what to give him next. It's sort of a toss-up between Force Barrier, Force Guidance, or maybe even Force Push, which is always a really solid choice. For now, I'm just going to save it, and then we might come back to this later and see if we've got any points left over. For his upgrade here, I'm going to be giving him offensive and defensive stance. Again, the reason for this is Obi-Wan's kind of here to absorb a lot of damage, and we were spending a lot of time in defensive stance and getting that dodge. Because if he's able to generate 3 dodge tokens a turn effectively, that would make him really solid in defense. And again, we'll leave his command upgrade for now. We'll see if you've got any points left over at the end. Moving over to Anakin, I think first and foremost he's going to need Force Push. I think it's a really solid upgrade and very rarely hurts to equip onto a Jedi. Now, he doesn't innately come with Force Master, so for now we're going to leave any that sort of are exhaustible, and we're just going to focus on ones that don't require the ability to be exhausted to use them. So we are going to be equipping Saber Throw. Saber Throw with 3 red dice out can be really nice. For his upgrades, again, I'm not quite sure where to go here. There's a couple of really good options. Obviously, with his floor card, which relies on him having a suppression at the end of the turn, we could be looking at endurance. He doesn't naturally surge, so Into the Fray could be a really good choice here, especially defensively. And a tenacity again, just to get him to that 6 red dice in attack. I am actually going to take tenacity here, and similarly, I'm going to be taking defensive and offensive stance. I'll explain more about this in just a second. So, with these two, basically what we're looking at is we're going to be playing them very defensively initially, and then perhaps when we need to push in and be a bit more aggressive, we are going to flip that defensive stance to be offensive and start to get those 2 aims a turn, which can be really powerful with those two characters. It may be overkill, it may not be strictly necessary, but I think definitely having that in defense would be really useful, and then the offense can come later. Moving over to our core, now I only have phase 1s, so I'm just going to be building this around phase 1s. Obviously the phase 1, phase 2, I think neither one is strictly better or worse. They have upsides and downsides. There's better upgrades better personal upgrades you can put onto the phase 1s, and they are a bit cheaper, but that reliable 1 and the courage 2 on phase 2s is really nice as well. So yeah, not quite sure which one is better there. So we're going to be putting in 3 units of phase 1s. I'm going to keep them quite distinct, and I'll explain why we're doing this in just a second. So for our first upgrade here, I'm actually going to be giving them 5s. 5s to me seems just like a really solid upgrade. 3 black dice, he gives you an increase in courage, and he has 2 himself, which is really nice. Additionally, he also gives you that coordinate keyword. Where this can be really useful is if you are looking to use fire support with your other phase 1s, he effectively gives you 2 orders for the price of 1. So that could be really nice for having that threat of that fire support. It may not even be something you utilize, but having that threat of fire support seems really useful. And then we're also going to be giving them the clone phase 1 clone specialist, and we're going to be giving them targeting scopes. So basically the idea of this unit is a lot with that phase 1 specialist. They'll have access to an aim token, hopefully most of the time. They can even move and maybe aim if we tap that clone specialist. And then they're going to be chucking out 8 black dice in attack, which is really nice with that precise 1 keyword. So it could do some real damage both if they're firing by themselves or fire supporting, which we'll look at in a second. There are a couple of units I'm putting in here specifically built around fire supporting. Now, next, we're actually going to move away from core units. We'll come back to them in a second, but I'm going to move over to special forces, and I'm going to be putting in a unit or 2. We'll see if we've got the points of ARC troopers. Now, ARC troopers are really interesting. Click on them here. They have some really interesting abilities. That Scout 2, Sharpshooter 1, Tactical 1. You do only get 4 in a unit, so they're not the strongest in the world. Courage 2 is quite nice, but they are quite lethal up close with that black and white. So again, if you're within range 2, which isn't, super close, but within range 2, you'll be putting out 4 black and 4 white dice. No innate surges, and hopefully that's where perhaps some of our fire support stuff might come in a little bit. So here, what I'm going to do, and I think this is definitely not the optimum way to run them, but I think perhaps gives them a bit more punch in what I'm going to be looking to use them for. I'm going to give them, and this seems like a bit of a no-brainer with these guys, I'm going to be giving them targeting scopes again, because with that tactical 1, they're going to get a free aim token basically when they perform a standard move. So a lot of the time they're going to be moving around with a few aim tokens. And again, with those white dice and those black dice, getting those rerolls is really nice. I'm also going to give them frag grenades. So what frag grenades do is they give them a red dice at range 1 and surge to crit. The hope is we'll be able to set up some fire support with these guys, and with that frag grenade in their dice pool, the whole attack pool will be getting surge to crit. So while this might not be the easiest thing in the world to set up, there is a world, and I think it will happen sometimes, where, for instance, if you had this unit fire supporting this unit, you'd be putting out 8 black dice with this unit with precise 1. And you'd be putting out 4 black, 4 white, and a red dice with this unit with precise 1. And obviously you'd hope they had an aim token on them. So what you're putting out is effectively sort of, 1 red, 12 black, and 4 white dice with surge to crit and an aim token re-rolling 4 dice. Now, that might be living in a fantasy world. Again, I can't say I've used this list. It might be too tricky to pull off, but it does seem like a very powerful combination, even if it only comes off for maybe 1 or 2 turns. Maybe even 1 or 2 turns is a little bit ambitious. And to help with this, I'm going to put in 2 of these units, because it does seem like we're getting quite a lot of firepower for that 75 points. Obviously, ARC Troopers recently had their, well, not that recently, but had their points drop down, so they do seem like quite a good value proposition. We just need to fill in our last 2 core slots, and I'm going to be putting in a couple more units of phase 1s. Now, it's a little bit tricky here. There's a number of different ways you could go. You could equip them with a medic to try and keep your heroes alive a bit longer, or, which is what I'm going to do with these guys, I am going to give them the Z6 phase 1 trooper. I'm going to give them targeting scopes, and I'm going to equip this unit with a clone specialist. Again, what this lets them do is, especially with these white dice, having those rerolls is really nice, and rerolling 3 dice with an aim token seems really powerful. Especially as that clone specialist, and I'll click it up here so you can see what I'm talking about. The clone specialist is only 1 more point than a basic clone trooper, and even if you only use this ability once, you're getting a free aim, dodge, or surge token, which seems like a really good sort of really good value for your points. And yeah, especially if we've got precise on that dice pool, it is going to effectively sort of give you 3 re-rolls, and again, if you only get that off once, that's fine, but you might refresh and get multiple uses out of that. And I'm actually going to equip these guys in exactly the same way with the Z6, with the specialist, and with targeting scopes. Now that does leave us with a few points left over. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use these. It does seem a bit of a shame to leave Obi Wan without a force upgrade. So what I may do is I might drop one of the clone specialists. I think I'll drop this clone specialist away from here. And I'm going to be equipping, and not quite sure to go here. I've got 15 points left. I think I'll put Force Barrier on Obi Wan Kenobi, and then Just to help with our order consistency, because we're not going to have a whole lot of orders being thrown around, I will put improvised orders on Obi Wan Kenobi. The command cards, it seems pretty straightforward to me. I love hello there, seems really powerful. Giving Obi Wan Kenobi nimble, letting him regain dodge tokens seems insanely powerful. And if he's close to enemy units, getting that many dodge tokens seems insane. So I'll put that in. All of Anakin's, I think you just need Anakin going at full power. He does take some time to get going, but by the end, he's got Exemplar, Reliable, Surge to Crit, Master of the Force, all of these things. So we'll really be churning through some upgrades. Obviously, it will take him a while to get there, but I think it's worth putting all of those in. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Knowledge and Defense again. So for each enemy, each friendly trooper at range 1, he'll gain 1 dodge token, and he can use Guardian in melee. So again, seems really, really good. Very in keeping with what I'm going to use him for, which is this sort of ultra defensive, sort of keeping the army together, keeping everyone alive. And finally, again, the 3 pips there isn't a great choice, but I think again Obi-Wan Kenobi is definitely the best one here. Chucking out a bunch of surge tokens. Unfortunately, because we don't have that many activations, we won't have that many surge tokens being given out, but it seems like a really nice thing to have around, especially when Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't naturally surge himself. So again, this seems like a really useful one to have around. There we go, that's it done. Obviously, really low activation count, just 7, but we do have these 2 Jedi who will be absorbing a huge amount of fire at the front and keeping our guys alive. And we've got some real punch with those ARC troopers and with some longer range stuff coming in from the Phase 1s. I don't think it's competitively viable. I don't actually know how it would cope on the board itself, but it is. I enjoy the idea of putting these 2 characters on the field at the same time, and it does seem some really good backup with the Phase 1s and with those ARC troopers. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what I've done wrong, why this would absolutely suck in game. But yeah, thank you for listening, and see you for the next one.